you, it is the 30th, Hallows Eve. And for me, it is still the lame 29th. I was meaning to do one yesterday, but apparently my mic was not recording due to the fact that it was plugged into the wrong port. So we're going to do this over again. I have watched these. I unfortunately have messed up. So I'm going to rewatch them and go over some things. So the first thing is evil Andy Griffith strikes again and has to make daily appearances in court. So we're going to break this down and look at this vile human being once more.
That angry crowd greeted the commander of the immigration operation in Chicago after a judge ordered him to testify in court.
A federal judge said she doesn't think that agents are abiding by her rules to restrict the use of force when engaging with the public. Investigative reporter Ben Bradley was in court, joining us now with more on what happened. A different tone from what we've seen in his public persona.
Indeed, Ray and Micah, the judge is now demanding daily in-person updates from Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino. She wants to know every time agents use tear gas or other force on the public. And she's ordering Homeland Security to provide her with body camera video of.
How much do you actually expect them to stick to? I don't think they're going to be truthful at all. And I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Like, there's so many cameras, there's so many things that are caught. Is the judge going to be able to be aware of every single incident that comes up on camera? Because we know he's not going to be truthful. We know they're going to try and get around this body cam thing. You know, like, I think the idea of ICE-free zones is great, but ICE isn't listening to a judge, not listening to the courts, they're listening to one man, and that man is the Mango Mussolini. So, really, I don't see them doing anything. But, I mean, yeah, she's establishing a paper trail, so if and when this all comes to an end, there's things to get them on. There's things to charge them on.
Those encounters.
Tear gassing Alderman Park.
Weekend scenes like this one on the north side, minutes before a neighborhood Halloween parade, causing federal judge Sarah Ellis to say enough is enough. Kids dressed in Halloween costumes walking to a parade do not pose an immediate threat to law enforcement officers, and you can't use riot control weapons against them.
No, but it was the perfect time to instill more fear and instill more suffering onto people. That's the whole point of all this thing, is to make us fear, to make us suffer. That's the whole point. But also at the same time, they are radicalizing children. They're so against quote unquote radicalization towards the left. You are literally showing a whole generation why they should be against ICE. They should be against the whole Trump conservative regime here. You are only showing the future children what to stand up against and what not to tolerate. But again, yeah, no, they chose this on purpose to scare you, scare your kids. And also, it's a vulnerable moment. You're not thinking of ICE. You're thinking about, let's go to this Halloween parade. Let's let the kids have fun. Oh, look, there's ice and tear gas. So, I mean, yeah, they chose it on purpose. That's disgusting pigs.
Judge said. She ordered Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino to testify under oath, but it was more of a lecture than an interrogation. The judge scolding Bovino for violating her order that said agents can only use tear gas, pepper balls, or physical force if they are facing an immediate and significant threat. And even then, they need to give warnings.
Like being blocked in traffic, for instance. They literally tear gas an entire street with cops on it and everything. That's not an immediate threat. It's not an immediate threat, but they did it anyways.
They must tell people what they are going to do before they do it, so people have the opportunity to comply. That's what I meant, and that's not what I've seen in any of these videos.
And for example, on top of that, they literally just had an incident where a marshal got shot where they're shooting at a fleeing TikToker who is supposedly an illegal immigrant, quote unquote. and he was fleeing. But also, he's also been documenting ICE doing this kind of stuff on his TikTok. So they're already like, we don't like this guy. But in the meantime, they shot a Marshall. It ricocheted off, like, I think a tree or a building, and it shot a Marshall. They don't have any training. They have no communication. And again, I promise you, nothing's going to happen. He's not going to change. And again, if the judge tries to do anything, we already have a whole DHS, we have a whole executive branch that's going to go right to his side and do what they can to help him.
The judge said.
Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait.
Bovino himself was seen on camera in Little Village lobbing tear gas into a crowd. He said it was after he was hit in the head by a rock. But the judge pointed out that wasn't visible on camera. Under questioning, Bovino admitted he doesn't have a body camera and hasn't been trained on it.
He hasn't been trained on it. He hasn't been trained on it. Of course he hasn't. These are secret police. Secret police don't record what they do.
Homeland Security now offering a social media rebuttal of sorts, releasing video set to music that the agency says shows some in the Little Village crowd throwing objects and being warned.
Get back! Get back! Get back or you will be gone!
The judge encouraging, in fact ordering agents to use more restraint.
One warning. One warning. No, like I've seen the inside of these vehicles. Somebody has taken their phone up to a vehicle while it's being towed. They have megaphones. They have the ability to announce. This is one of those things where, like, okay, I did the legal part of it. I did the bare minimum. Here we go. OSHA approved.
Her message? Under the First Amendment, we cannot have people afraid. They can say they don't like what you're doing, but they can't get tear gassed for it. Bovino responded, I understand, Your Honor.
In other words,
Bovino encountered a crowd shouting obscenities as he left the courthouse. He appeared defiant, unwilling to dial back. It's worth mentioning, some of the agents guarding Bovino did not seem to be wearing cameras or have their names or badge numbers visible as the judge required.
What is happening, though, is
just remember during the George Floyd protest, there were plenty of police that also had their badge numbers covered up by a thin blue line elastic band or some shit. So, that was definitely a thing.
Bovino is a barbaric individual. And I just hope that this judge provides some level of accountability, because that's not what's happening right now.
Plaintiffs asked the judge to enter an order banning immigration agents from deploying tear gas. She said she's not willing to go that far, at least not yet. Mike.
Time heals all wounds, I guess. All right. Next up, 25 states sue the Trump administration over SNAP funding during shutdown. And I want to remind everybody before we go on, they're doing this on purpose. They want you to starve. They want you to be angry. They want you to commit crimes to feed your hunger. They want you to commit crimes to pay your bills. They want you to go on the streets and set fire. That's their goal. That way they can have full authoritarian control, military in the streets, martial law, whatever you want to call it. They will do it, and this is their way of doing it. They're stoking the fire on purpose. Let us continue with this horrible, horrible country we're in.
Government shutdown, day 28. More than 40 million Americans now set to lose food benefits in just days. The Department of Agriculture now saying the well has run dry, in their words. Tonight, more than 24 states now suing the Trump administration, saying this is cruelty. Jay O'Brien on the Hill tonight.
Tonight, day 28 of the government shutdown, and now 42 million lower-income Americans are about to lose critical food assistance. The Department of Agriculture now saying, quote, the well has run dry. And tonight, too.
Which is a lie, by the way. We have reserves for when the government shuts down. We have reserves. Billions and billions of dollars in reserves I think 4 million, just for when the government shut down. So keep in mind, when the government shut down for a month in the last Trump administration, SNAP was still going out. So the fact that the well has quote unquote run dry is a lie. This is the point, to make you suffer.
2 dozen Democrat-led states suing the Trump administration to force it to use emergency funds to cover SNAP.
I mean, enough of this. Cruelty is the policy. That's what this is about. It's intentional cruelty, intentionally creating anxiety for millions and millions of people.
That means Americans across at least 48 states, like Dana Tuller, a mother of 5 working 3 different jobs, will lose SNAP benefits come the 1st of November.
Now let me address this other point that I always hear, whether there's a shutdown, whether there's a Democrat or a conservative in office. Let me break this down. I always hear this, that if you are on SNAP, you are lazy, a welfare queen, you're mooching off the government, you're mooching off the rest of us, blah, 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 blah. This woman is working 3 jobs and has 5 kids. Now, granted, I know the argument is she could have less kids. That's none of your goddamn business. Whether or not she has 1 kid to 20 kids, it's none of your business. 20 kids is a bit excessive, I will admit, and that's a large food bill. And there should probably definitely be some help there, but if one person has 20 kids, they're not going to be able to do that. And again, we can go from the religious stance of, oh, well, you're a single mother, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at it like this. Say there are religious people that have a lot of kids. They're married. Say the husband or the wife dies. It happens a lot. They get sick and they die. They are now left with a lot of kids on their own. Like, think of the image too. She has 5 kids. So you already know people are going to say, should have closed her legs more, should have been doing this or that. You don't know this woman's story. You don't know why she has 5 kids. It doesn't matter. Those 5 kids are now going to be struggling to eat. And all you can say is, good, people are lazy. Let me tell you something. A bunch of these people are, 1, on SNAP and don't admit it because they want to be part of the whole keeping up appearances game. They want to play part. That's what they do. Secondly, you got people who are jealous. Rightfully so. I agree that and I said this a long time ago when I worked with a lot of conservative people on a weed farm. I used to always talk about uniting and we need to come together as a collective, as employees, and demand more. And I always used to tell these people when they would say shit like this, is like, you deserve SNAP too, dude. You deserve SNAP as well. You work your ass off. You've got a lot of bills. And if something happens, you're going to need that backup on food. And even then, it would be nice to just have, I don't know, at minimum, a $60 bill or $60 just $60 laying around for extra food. I'm not saying that's qualifiable. I'm not saying that's enough, but I'm saying it would be nice in a minimum circumstance. So yes, they deserve it, and we make plenty of money as a country. We're very wealthy. We could have done this a long time ago. SNAP is not just for lazy people. And by the way, if it's just for lazy people, you're also saying that elderly people who are on SNAP don't deserve it and that they're lazy. Is that the case? What about, let's bring another single mom or single parent situation. Let's say that there's a veteran father who's in between jobs. Or maybe he just has a shitty job because times are tough and the mom died. You saying that veteran single father does not deserve SNAP anymore? Of course not. No, he's got to be lazy too, right?
I'm angry. I'm angry that the politicians that make the decisions don't care. They can just go on vacation, go on recess, and not worry about what's happening to their constituents.
Tonight, tens of thousands of workers furloughed, many not getting paychecks, including workers who keep the skies safe. Air traffic controllers working 6 days a week, now missing their first full paycheck. Pay stubs like this one reading 0.
And when I worked at the crisis unit, I used to deal with a lot of people on drugs, a lot of people in psychosis, a lot of people who are just mentally unwell, a lot of people who are just pissed off at the world. And there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of restraining going on, there's a lot of stressful situations. And I loved my clients, and I still do. And, I hope they're all doing okay. I hope they never have to go back. But I swear to you, if I got $0 on a paycheck, you would not see me. If I got $0 on a paycheck at all, like if I knew there was no payment coming, I would tell all my clients, I love y'all. I hope you take care and hope it all works out, but I'm not going to stay here for $0. Yes, I would lose a job, but I'm also not going to work for free and be expected to clock in for free. It's not happening. I don't blame any of these ATC guys for calling in. Like, they know they're not getting paid. And their job is hard. They got thousands of people's lives in their hands on a day-to-day basis. They got a lot of moving parts, a lot of like talking, a lot of moving. So much goes on in that. And by the way, they can't go home and smoke a J after that, after a stressful day, because they have to pass some bullshit drug tests. So again, this is meant to cause us strife. This is meant to cause us issues. Before I even play this again, there's old train of thought or old mindset about when you're training a dog, you starve it. You don't give it a lot of food. And you only give it food in minimal amounts because a starving dog listens. But as I say, the inverse of that, you can starve a dog, but the second you start getting more loose with those meals, and then you just happen to piss that dog off, or the dog just happens to look at you like a steak, it's over. That's what they're expecting. They're expecting us as the hungry dogs to bite the hand. That's what they're expecting.
Democrats holding firm, saying Republicans must join them in addressing a looming health insurance crisis. Democrats fighting for an extension of expiring Obamacare tax credits, which would keep premiums from skyrocketing for some 20 million Americans.
We're on the precipice of a historic crisis, and Republicans don't even want to talk to us.
Did they read your strongly worded letter, Chuck? I know you sent a strongly worded letter. Have you tried it again, Chuck?
About fixing it. And Trump, where's he? Not even in the U.S.
And tonight, in a break with her party, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene acknowledging she lashed out on a Republican call, accusing the GOP of not having a plan to tackle health care costs. Greene writing today she confronted Speaker Johnson, saying, "I have no respect for the House not being in session, and I demanded to know from Speaker Johnson what the Republican plan for health care is."
They have concepts of a plan. But you know how sick this reality is? When Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Jewish space laser lady, is making sense. Do you understand how we have now switched to the upside down world? Marjorie Titan Greene is actually like making sense, but she's only doing it because she sees the tides are changing. She sees her children are going to be suffering with insurance and food and all that. The only reason people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the only reason they're flipping is because it's hurting someone or them, and they decided that enough's enough. When she sees that Trump is gone and another conservative lines up, she will follow right behind him. These people will still go for the status quo. They do not see that these conservative Republican politicians are not looking out for their best interest at all. They're not. They don't see it. They will never see it. They only see it when it hurts them, and whenever it's not hurting them, they're blind to everything else. So when you see all these MAGA people crying about, "I regret my vote, I'm so sorry, I didn't vote for this," watch them. Keep your eye on them. Are they going to change? Are they actually going to start voting differently? And I'm not saying you have to be a lefty. I'm not saying you got to be a Democrat. But you now have to realize, right? You see how all these conservatives and Republicans fell in line with Trump so quickly? You have been supporting those people and propping them up and voting for them. There is a problem with that party. I don't think anybody on that side is going to see that. And I hope I'm wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times. I'm pretty damn good at being wrong. Just like most people. But I hope I'm wrong on this one specifically, because I want people to change. I didn't go work at a fucking crisis unit because I liked seeing people suffer. I like seeing people change and grow. So I hope people who are suffering now because of Trump and are claiming they realize the error of their ways are realizing it's not necessarily because of Trump. It's also because of the people who are propping him up and supporting him.
David, back to SNAP. That program has never run out of money in its more than 60-year history, including the longest shutdown to date during the first Trump administration.
Because of the reserves. That's why. All right. On to the last story. As I said earlier, I watched all these, didn't get the mic audio for it. This one's a little shorter. I'm only focusing on the alleged strikes, not alleged drug boat strikes. They are strikes, they actually happened, they are not alleged. Whoopsie daisy. So I'll only be covering this part of it. But again, shout out to PBS News. Shout out to PBS. Y'all been there for me and my kids. We love you, Mr. Rogers. Daniel Tiger is awesome, by the way. Like, y'all, I hope nobody's sleeping on him.
In the day's other headlines, the U.S. military says it carried out 3 strikes against alleged drug boats in the eastern Pacific Ocean, killing at least 14 people. In a social media post, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the strikes were launched yesterday.
Look at all those drugs. You see all those drugs? Look at all those drugs. Where are the drugs going? Where are the drugs going?
Yesterday, and that 1 person survived. It marks a further escalation in the pace of the boat attacks that began in early September. At least 57 people have been killed in more than a dozen such strikes.
Trump and Hegseth have taken 57 lives just in this. That's not counting the people from Alligator Alcatraz that came up missing. That's not counting that, and I this is just me. This is just my little brain going off in this direction. It's not counting the migrants they possibly, allegedly, threw off of the airplanes into the ocean traveling to other countries, because I just don't see us paying other countries to take prisoners. Just my thought. They have taken so many lives, but these are just 57 of them. 57. We are committing war crimes. Your tax dollars, my tax dollars are all paying for it. Which, by the way, maybe we should consider boycotting our fucking taxes if this is what they're going to do. Because they're already aiding Israel and killing people in Gaza. They're doing this with our money. They're bombing Venezuela. They refuse to open the government. They refuse to give SNAP to the people who are impoverished. Especially the children that are impoverished. Our tax dollars are now providing ICE with gaffling up American citizens, illegal, immigrated, and born here. We are paying for this. So why are we paying for this? Why do we continue to pay for this? Listen, we boycotted ABC, Disney, and that should still be going on. Boycott them still. They don't need our money. The fact that they caved in so quickly to begin with shows you why we need to boycott. But we boycotted them. Imagine if we all boycotted our taxes. Imagine if we didn't pay for this horrible, inhumane treatment of other people. Imagine if we stopped. Because maybe the argument would be, Well, what if the billionaires start paying for everything? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if the billionaires and trillionaires started paying for everything? But in this situation about everything, I mean like the bombings, like how we're going to have the ballroom, more surveillance. So let's be honest, that's what would happen. But I feel like, honestly, we shouldn't be paying our hard-earned dollars to a government that's not listening to us. A government that's actually purposefully making us suffer and punishing us for existing, or disagreeing with it even. And last time I checked, Abrego Garcia is going to Liberia pretty soon. I think on Halloween. We're paying for that. And by the way, that ballroom may be privately funded, but guess who's going to be paying for upkeep? It won't be them. We will be paying for upkeep. So let him have his Marie Antoinette moment. Let him have it. Let him have it. Because it won't last for long. He plans on staying there. He plans on staying there. But enough people will get sick enough. And things will change. Especially if we can change these districts over. If we can actually start gerrymandering like how they gerrymandered us for years and eons. We gotta do what we can to get him out of here. We gotta do what we can.
The Trump administration has provided no evidence to support its claims that the boats were bringing drugs to the United States.
Because there is no evidence, like there is no drugs. America has lost the war on drugs. And it will continue to lose the war on drugs. And this is just their way of kind of like pretending like they're still fighting and winning. No, we're not. People are addicted to these drugs, and they're going to continue to buy these drugs until we start doing more treatment. We start taking care of poverty. We start getting people want to do drugs to escape from the life that they have. And then in doing that, it creates addiction, and addiction breeds crime, and blah, 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 a downward spiral. You claim that you care about life, but when life is going down for someone, you turn your head away, and you claim it's their fault. So what if it's their fault? People make mistakes. Constantly people make mistakes. And people make them over and over again. But that is not our job to judge them. That is our job to help who we can. If you have the ability to help someone, help them. And yes, that means drug addicts. Now, I'm not saying that if a drug addict shows up to your door, that you are inclined to help them. Especially if they have an attitude. But if you have the ability to help somebody, help them. Like, think about it. Whenever Biden did that, the Clean Needle initiative, he was like, they're giving needles to crackheads. One of the first things I always said was, you're not going to get addicts clean by forcing them clean. You can't do that. Addicts will get clean on their own time, or they will die in the craft that they love. But in the meantime, while your auntie's out here doing heroin or injecting meth, would you rather her inject it safely? Would you rather her get her high as safe as possible? I would much rather somebody get their high as safe as possible. That way they can live. They don't have to worry about hepatitis. They don't have to worry about AIDS. They can live without that worry. And they can live through their addiction and get some goddamn help. Because that's the either or of the addiction. You either end up dying an addict or you end up sobering up. One of the two. we turn our back from those who need it. The war on drugs was always aimed at hippies and black people, and Nixon said that himself. So we started this war on drugs to criminalize, dehumanize basically two groups of people, but let's be honest, the main focus is on black folk. And we know that. Now, Reagan put crack in the hood. So let's be completely honest with ourselves here. This is just war. This is just them wanting to bomb people under the guise of doing it against drug dealers, which, by the way, is not a punishable crime by death. You don't get to bomb somebody because they're dealing drugs or trafficking drugs. First off, you find out they're doing that. Then secondly, you have a court. You have laws for that. You don't just bomb people because they're supposedly, or if they are, you don't bomb them. Like hell, all the time, white supremacists always bring up black on black crime. Drug dealers and gang members shoot each other all the time. Like, yeah, and there's laws against that. There's laws against that. You can't just go in the fucking impoverished neighborhoods and bomb them, which they would love to, because there's laws against that. There's a little bit more vagueness when it comes to this. This is still illegal, but to them, there's more vagueness to it. But that's their favorite thing too. That's their favorite thing. It's just bombing people, looking for a reason to kill brown people. When's the last time that we bombed white people? Germans, if I remember correctly, were the last time we bombed white people. Why is that? I'm going to leave you with that one this morning. Good morning.